Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Right now here in season 3 of Warzone, the SMG meta is insanely competitive because of all the damage buffs that we've seen, various changes to how the close range meta in general is, interacting with one another right now. The SMG category is insanely competitive, which ultimately is a good thing. It means even if you're not going for the absolute #1 or #2 SMG, you're probably still going to be able to compete relatively well because there are so many strong options. But that said, today I want to go through and break down the top 5 best SMGs and SMG meta loadouts that we've got right now. So let's start first here on True Game Data, because we got to break down our top 5 and actually figure out what the 5 best subs are. Now here we do only have our 8 Black Ops 6 SMGs. Quite frankly, most MW2, pretty much every single MW2 SMG is irrelevant to this time, which kind of sucks. I hope that changes in the future. There aren't many MW3 subs that really stand a chance. The Striker is about the only one that comes to mind, but even then, it's still got that MW3 feel, and especially because the changes that Season 3 made, the Black Ops 6 options inherently are just the way to go. So, that said, let's look at 300 health combination shot TTK for the most accurate stats here. As always, huge shout out to Tony for putting in the work, making all this info so easily accessible. We got a graph out to 40 meters here with this TTK. There's some obvious things you can check off right away. There's a few things that you have to dig a little bit deeper to truly decide on. But right away, you look at SMGs, where are you using these weapons the most? It's probably between 0 and 15, 20 meters ideally, right? Yes, you'll find yourself in situations where you have an SMG out at 25, at 30 meters. Beyond that, you're really not looking to use these weapons that much there because their TTKs do drop off, their velocities drop off. You're going to be better off using a rifle or a sniper support build in that case. But in the most important damage ranges, currently the Tanto and the PP919 are two sort of yellow and greenish lines here. They're just not competing with the rest of this category right now. Now, the Tanto does carry on really well through the mid-range, but it's also the weapon on this list that suffers the most from accuracy. It's very unforgiving if you miss shots because its fire rate is so much slower than the other options. So this TTK can drop off a cliff if you're not perfectly accurate. So Tanto definitely not in our top 5, and the PP919 unfortunately falls out of that list as well. Now really we only have to eliminate one more option here. The Kompakt clearly melts up close. It is the best close range option in the game right now for the SMGs. That's a mainstay. The KSV's versatility is fantastic, as is the C9s. The PPSH also has a phenomenal TTK with pretty good range, so that leaves it between the Saug and the Jackal. And if we were to just look at these two outright, hide everything else, they're pretty close, all things considered. However, the Saug's mobility right now is phenomenal. This thing got some nice boosts with Season 3 in terms of damage that really makes it competitive, and you can see, especially through the first 18 or so meters, it's going to eclipse the Jackal ever so slightly. So to me, that one's going to ultimately take the cake there. And lo and behold, we end up with 5 fantastic SMG choices in the Saug, the PPSH, the Kompakt, the KSV, and the C9. So now let's go through, let's break down these setups for these. Also, for what it's worth, that's not to say the Tanto or the PP919 or the Jackal are bad options by any means. They're still super competitive, but these 5 are definitely the true standouts. But let's break down the setups for these. As we do so, if you enjoy the video, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, you want to guarantee that every single day you are always in the know for everything going on in COD, this is the place to be. So feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. So just narrowing down this video to a top 5 best SMGs in general is difficult. Actually ranking them 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is even more difficult. Quite frankly, you could have an argument for so many of these SMGs being higher up on this list, and if you have your opinions, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. First up at number 5, I'm starting with the KSV, just simply based off of feel a little bit here. The other SMGs, in terms of ease of use, to me at least, are just a little bit more advantageous. This is still one of my favorite SMGs in the game. However, I'm a lot less consistent with my setup on this as I am the other subs, because sometimes with this it's like, man, I'm not feeling the irons today, I gotta use an optic, but then I'm burning an attachment on that. Other days it's like, okay, I'm frying with the irons, feeling good here. I'm very back and forth with that, and so that does kind of limit me some with this, but the overall feel of the KSV in terms of damage and its versatility there is fantastic. First up here, I am just going for the compensator straight up. Better control, makes the gun easier to use, makes it more predictable. Long barrel on SMGs is fantastic. Velocity does not matter in the ranges that we're using these guns, but extending out those fast TTK ranges even further is obviously insanely important. So this extends our range out to almost 18 meters. That's phenomenal there. Ranger foregrip is going to give us some horizontal control, but then also some sprinting movement speed, so the gun is easier and it's more aggressive. That's the best of both worlds there. Extended 2 here will be a 50 rounder. That's going to work fine for all squad sizes. No huge concerns with damage per mag or anything with that. Then lastly, I really like balanced stock on this build. For the better strafe, the better general movement just makes it a lot more aggressive and versatile there as well. I do think running something like quick draw or commando or ergonomic rear grip is also solid, and even something like infiltrator for the best strafe could be really good as well. But for me, balance just feels the most reliable for my style of play. Really enjoy this build overall, even though I am back and forth on if I want to drop, you know, a stock for an optic or the muzzle for an optic or something like that here and there. Now at number 4, I've got the PPSH. This is one that I think a lot more players were gonna be back and forth on, maybe as opposed to the KSV, right? Because with this, you're either an iron sight fan and you're okay with like the weird sort of muzzle flash that it's got, or you're I have to use an optic on this thing to maintain accuracy. Obviously, that's super important here. And with this rate of fire, your bullets are really, really valuable in this case, because you don't want to have to stop and reload because you missed too many shots without getting that kill. That's going to put you in an awkward spot. So accuracy is clutch here, and that's why I go a lot in on control as opposed to just the straight up visibility with an optic. I live with the irons. They're not perfect, but they're good enough, at least for me. So here again, compensator, huge for that better control of making this gun a lot easier to use. Long barrel, once more extending out that damage range at just over 15 meters, which is pretty solid there. Ranger foregrip or vertical is going to work well here. Just comes down to how comfortable you are with this gun's recoil. If you want the max control, go for vertical. If you're decently comfortable with it, but you want some better mobility, go for Ranger. I think they're both great choices there. Extended 2 in this case is only 55, and we've got a 952 RPM, so this thing will burn through that ammo. You know, not having a 60 or a 70 round extended mag here, it's kind of rough, so you got to be extra mindful of that, especially if you're missing a few shots here and there. It's a tricky one to maybe get used to a bit more. Once you do get familiar with this weapon, though, that's where you really start to see the payoff that it has. And then it's so weird that they still decided to do this. They mixed all the stocks and the rear grips together and just made them all stocks. So there's a lot of really good choices here. I love the agility stock for the faster ADS and a little bit better strafe, just because the ADS on this thing is not super fast. With this on there, it goes down to 165, which is solid there. Without it, it can be a little bit iffy for my style of play, but ergonomic is really good for the slide to fire, the better strafe. Combat is really good for better sprint to fire, better slide to fire and whatnot. Quick draw for the ADS, balance for the movement and the strafe. So you can bounce back and forth with a lot of these. If there's one you really love the feel of, just go ahead and run that. I don't think there's many wrong answers in that category. Now at number 3, I've got the Saug. This is really spiked in usage for me personally after season 3. Before that, wasn't really using this thing all that much. The buffs to this thing were solid, and I'm really enjoying the feel of it now, especially when you factor in the mobility. This thing just glides across the map. Love the overall feel of this thing. Bit of a different setup here, so I do go for compensator, helping out that vertical control, of course. Long barrel, extending out our range, no surprise there, just under a 14 meter effective damage range. Instead of using an underbarrel here for just some horizontal control, I actually go through and use recoil springs, getting even more horizontal and even more vertical. Now, for what it's worth, if you wanted to, you could rock recoil springs and swap the compensator for an underbarrel and use something like Ranger foregrip, and that'd be practical as well, just switching that out for that. Totally viable if you're more so focused on that horizontal control rather than a mixture of all of them, right? Extended 2 here, 55. It'll work all right. We got a 909 RPM, so again, the DPM could be a little bit iffy depending on your accuracy, but luckily this weapon's a lot more straightforward than, say, a PPSH. Then lastly here, commando grip for the better sprint to fire, slightly better ADS speed, and then also better jumping ADS than sprint to fire. So if you're doing a lot of that in your gameplay, which I find myself doing with this Saug build, that can definitely help out. But that said, quick draw, assault, and ergonomic are all really, really solid as well there too. So the Saug, definitely a gun that you're probably not super used to seeing, either in your kill cam or in your hands, but it gets the job done really nicely right now. And with number 2, we've got the C9, just the sort of do-it-all SMG. There's nothing this thing does poorly. It's got the mobility, it's got the range, it's got the control, it's got the TTK. Checking all the right boxes. That's been the same story for quite some time here. So setup not looking that much different. Compensator, straight up better vertical control, of course. Long barrel, extending out our damage range just over 15 meters. Feeling good there. Ranger foregrip, better control and better sprinting movement speed there. Extended 2 in this case, 50, but with a 732 RPM, you're not going to have to worry about any damage per mag issues there. It really is very forgiving, all things considered. Then lastly, I bounce around a lot. Ergonomic rear grip feels fantastic. Better slide to fire, better jumping ADS, better general ADS, so that's obviously gonna be nice and snappy and aggressive. Again though, any of the other main 4 rear grips could be good as well depending on your play style, or something like a balanced stock could be really solid here too. And if for whatever reason you're not really super comfortable with the control here, recoil springs, also always an option there if you ever want to look into that as well. So you could go mobility, you could go control with that 5th and final attachment. Plenty of ways to build it out. All of them are going to be good. And then lastly here at number 1, the Kompakt. Again, it's got great mobility, really good range, and fantastic TTK. As we saw, this thing is the melt machine of the SMG category as it stands. Got to be a little bit mindful of accuracy and ammo here, so for that reason, going for the compensator, helping out with that vertical control. And in this case, instead of a barrel, I go for Ranger foregrip, helping out with some of that horizontal and of course the sprinting movement speed, but then also recoil springs, even more horizontal and vertical. I'm making sure I'm as accurate as I can possibly be with this so that I don't have to worry about potentially missing shots I otherwise wouldn't if I was lacking the control stats here. I do go for extended 3. This is only a 60, and with a 1091 RPM, yeah, the damage per mag is a little bit iffy here as well. Luckily, we can stack all this control and really make sure our bullets are as valuable as they can possibly be. Then lastly, quick draw rear grip, better ADS, just makes this thing super snappy, and I love the feel of this one in this case specifically. But yeah, all of these SMG builds are phenomenal. I found myself switching them out constantly. Okay, this game feeling the Kompakt, good there, switching over to the C9, switching over to the KSV, so on and so forth. I love how competitive this SMG meta is right now. That said, that's gonna wrap things up. If you enjoyed the video, like rating is always really appreciated, and if you're new to the channel, you want to guarantee you're always in the know for everything going on in COD, no better place than right here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.